Nick, we'll start with you. Are you buying that Jamar Chase at the top is better than Justin Jefferson?
No, and not only am I not buying it, and I think Jamar's awesome. I think Jamar's a future Hall of Famer. He hasn't done enough yet, but if I would bet on him being a Hall of Famer. I thought this was one of the positions that we didn't argue about. That it was the way kind of the Mahomes should be talked about and was talked about a couple years ago, where the debate starts at 2. Mm-hmm. And even though Jamar Chase won the receiving Triple Crown last year, I thought everybody understood, well, the best guy in the league's the guy, Justin Jefferson, who's never had a great quarterback, who's averages...
Last year, Darnold last year.
Exactly. You look at it as Sam Darnold won 14 games. I look at it as Justin Jefferson, carried them when he's there, and he averages more yards per game than any player in the history of the league. Of any position, any player, he averages the most. And so I think Jamar Chase is phenomenal. That guy is the best.
You got Chase as a clear number 2?
Yes, because Tyreek to me has slipped a bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. To me, Jefferson's clearly number 1.
Can I show you the stats just head to head, bro? When you look at the stats, because I think you make a great argument for Justin Jefferson, and Greg has spoke glowingly about how unstoppable he is. The numbers really scream Jamar Chase, and granted Jefferson
last year,
missed out a little bit. 127 receptions to 103, 25 more targets, 1,700 yards to 1,500, 13 yards per catch to about 13 to 15, and then 17 touchdowns to 10, bro. All in favor of Jamar.
Yeah, look, I really wanted to go with Justin because, to your point, and this is huge, he hasn't had a great quarterback.
No.
Jamar's playing with Joe Burrow, and he's played with Kirk Cousins, who's good, but not, maybe never been a top 10 quarterback, and then Sam Darnold last year. But for me, that's great, and you're right, I feel the same way about Justin. You're talking about Jamar. He's awesome. Jamar scares me more.
Wow.
Really?
Because of his yards after the catch. He's played one fewer season than Justin and already has more yards after catch than Justin does. And Justin's not bad yards after catch, but this dude is phenomenal. Last year he had 150 more yards after the catch than the second highest receiver. Because he's so fast, he's a little faster than Justin, I think a little more athletic, jumps a little higher when you look at their combine stuff. And he's so strong. He's like a running back once he catches the ball. And that's why I would take him and I get it. Like I said, he's got the better quarterback. He's got T on the other side, T. Higgins. But he's scarier to me because of his damage after the catch.
Okay, so I'm excited to actually go through this now with y'all because I actually originally made a 20-minute video talking all about this. And I just wasn't happy enough with it, and I deleted it, which I actually pretty much never do that. I really don't. I'm just like, this is what I made. Watch it. You guys love it. You hate it. Whatever. But I was trying to figure out how's the best way to kind of have this discussion, especially since they're bringing up things like Yak, which you guys know I love to discuss. I think it is hard, a lot harder, to really kind of decipher Yak when it's credited to the scheme, the coaching staff, or an individual wide receiver, or just anyone who's catching the ball at this point. Because I think scheme and coaching plays such a massive factor in that. But of course, your physical skill set, how fast you are, your physicality, it's a combination. Someone like Travis Kelce has been a Yak monster, and it's because he's a beast. But it's also because of scheme and the style offense that they're running. Even on PFF, for instance, right? They'll talk about Jamar Chase. He gained 800 yards after the catch last season and leads all receivers with 1,788 yards after catch since 2022. So a 3-year window. You take Travis Kelce's 3-year window, 2020, 2021, 2022. So before he kind of started being on the other side of his prime. He was essentially at 1,700 to 1,800 yards after catch. So it's just there could be a little bit more that meets the eye. But here's what I find interesting because I don't always have the ability to go through like actual film, and it would just be talking about some wide receiver highlights and breaking that down. That's just not going to be something that, at least at this time, I'll be able to successfully do with any type of regularity. And so I'm trying to figure out, was like, okay, well, how can I tell this story then with numbers, with stats, which is what I've been doing with quarterback play. And again, as you guys know, I have a complicated and love-hate relationship with stats. I definitely more rather just see what we're looking at more than anything. But during the offseason especially, I'm so much more open to just getting lost in the weeds with stats and kind of exploring them. And I think this, what I'm about to show you, paints such a fascinating picture with the wide receivers, the way how an offense is run, and how it can show up statistically. Because I take issue when we see just something like this and say that's the story. I mean, that has been a common theme with a lot of my quarterback videos where we're going through the stats where people are saying this guy has more touchdowns, less interceptions, more passing yards, he's better, there you go. And it's like, wait a second. How many screen passes are you throwing? Average depth of target, the yak that you're getting behind the line of scrimmage passes. Like, let's talk about all of this. And I think in those situations, sometimes the numbers actually can tell a more complete picture, because you're always at risk of cherry picking random film. I can show you a game where a quarterback is throwing nothing but half the passes are seemingly behind the line of scrimmage, and it's like, see, that's what this quarterback's doing. And it's like, well, that was one game. Show the other game where he only had one screen pass the entire time and threw the ball 30 times, and it's like, okay, point well taken. So when you're looking at some of that data over a full season, it can kind of tell a little bit, a more accurate, although albeit still kind of tough, because there's just layers to it. It's not easy. If it was easy, then crunching the numbers would be so automatic and guaranteed that it would be the easiest ever to draft, know when to sign someone, when to extend someone, when to move on. Is a trade worthwhile? Like, once people really understand the information that's locked in stats and know how to reliably and consistently make sense of it, you're a billionaire at that point. Seriously, you're just going to be, it's an absolute superpower, because it's just data at that point. It's one is more than zero, boom. But we're not at that point, and I hope we never do, honestly, because trying to figure this out and then combine it with what we're seeing, for me at least, is a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys find it fun as well. But I think this tells an actually pretty interesting story of how a player can get a lot of extra yak beyond just their physical skill set. And to be very clear, someone like Ja'Marr Chase, his physicality, his speed, he's always going to be, no matter what kind of scheme you're running, the door will be open for him to get a lot more yards after catch and whatnot. But I want to compare Ja'Marr Chase, of course, to Justin Jefferson. And so now, this is now short passes, okay? So this is going to be within like 1 to 8 yards or so. And actually, for both of them, it actually works out pretty well, because they both on this short chunk of passes, their average depth of target is pretty similar. 5 yards for Ja'Marr Chase, and Justin Jefferson 5.7 yards. Okay, so pretty as close as we could get in this instance. But here's what's interesting, because you'll see someone like a yards after catch, 308 on 0 to 9 yard passing for yards after catch, okay? And for Justin Jefferson, it is 109. So a pretty wide margin of a difference. And, some of these short passes will be some of these like quick hitch routes and things of that nature. But when we look at it a little bit further, what we see with Justin Jefferson is that he was targeted now 55 times, okay? He had 55 targets, 41 receptions for this 0 to 9 yard type of throws. And Ja'Marr Chase, 82. So now we're talking about a pretty large leap. And so 67 receptions to where are you, Justin Jefferson? Where'd you go? To 41. Okay. Here's where it gets interesting, because we know now that someone like Jamar Chase is getting the ball. He's getting significantly more shorter passes, and you're like, okay, what does that mean now, though? But he's also getting a lot more yak, and it's like, but here's the kicker. Okay, he was targeted. Okay, 82 times, and yet only 14 of those passes were contested. Only 14. So we could credit the offense. We can credit his ability to run that route so amazingly, so aggressively, that he's able to just shake a defender. You know, some of that's going to be true for sure. You know, like anything, it's going to be a few pieces of truth here. But when we look at Justin Jefferson, he had 16 contested targets, with both being an average depth of target. Let's just call it an even 5, right? So on passes that were about 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, 5 yards out, Justin Jefferson had 16 contested targets, where Jamar Chase had 14 contested targets. And it's like, but yet the amount of passes, the targets, overall targets, were 82 for Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson 55. So you're having now the same type of passing offense, at least statistically, and yet one receiver is clearly getting so much more. He's catching the ball, and there's someone right there on him. There's someone right there. Whereas Jamar Chase is at such a ridiculously high level, is able to catch the ball in an uncontested way, and obviously will now have a lot more room to run. And you see that where now Justin Jefferson gets 2.7 yards per reception, and Jamar Chase is able to get 4.6. And that really adds up. That really adds up. And to me, that's kind of a way how we can kind of use the numbers a little bit to kind of show you, okay, what about when you're running similar plays as much as you can, and how successful are those plays at getting the ball in the hands of who you want to get the ball to, and once you do, what's the story here, right? Like, is it contested? Is it tough? Are you able to catch the ball and then rip off another 5, 6, 7 yards? Are you catching the ball and now you get tackled right away? It's like, for me, watching Justin Jefferson, a lot of those short passing plays, like, it very much felt like those moments when you're watching a game and you're just like, and this doesn't happen all the time with Justin Jefferson, but any main wide receiver, you're like, man, they can't get so and so going, and you see them make those quick, 3, 4, 5 yard passes that they're just trying to like get him get him going, get him catches, get him feel like he's involved in the game plan. And there was so many times that you can kind of see that with Justin Jefferson, where it was like, get him the ball, but then he's getting tackled. Like, it was like, I don't want to say it was forced, but it definitely was clearly, even just numerically, like, it was clearly not at the top of their agenda. With Jamar Chase getting 82 targets, there's a clear saying, this is what we're looking to do. Over half your targets, around half your targets, this is what where we're trying to operate. Justin Jefferson, it was a third of his targets. It's just different. And not to mention, when those targets were there and the throws were made, Justin Jefferson's being met with contact very quickly compared to Jamar Chase. So, and not to mention, just in terms of overall yards, 339 to 629 yards per reception, 9.4 for Jamar Chase. Justin Jefferson, 8.3. So pretty interesting that Justin Jefferson was able to have similar overall yards per reception, but yet the yak was cut in half. So I wanted to look at this a little bit differently, and I did want to look at this more statistically rather than just kind of get in a standard, Jamar Chase is clearly better, Justin Jefferson's clearly better. And it's just like, I wanted to try to find a way of how we can kind of explore this, again, more statistically, because the reality is, and this is what I kept saying in my other video that I ended up deleting, you can't go wrong And I think with wide receivers, especially statistically, when you're just looking at bottom line stats, like you're just so at the mercy of how the offense is run, the quarterback. It's just too hard. There's a reason why we talk about quarterbacks all day, every day. One, they're obviously the most popular. Two, it's the most straightforward. And it's even the stats that people have, it's a lot more straightforward. And even the advanced analytics that you have is a lot more straightforward. You can put those things in a little bit more of a vacuum. You can't necessarily do that with wide receivers. Even trying to really figure out what would a quarterback look like if we put him on, if we put Josh Allen on the Carolina Panthers or put him on the Buffalo Bills, the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, people don't always love that. I don't mind those types of thought experiments, but it's just like your mind can actually make more sense of that than if you're like, well, what would Jamar Chase look like if he was on the Carolina Panthers or if he was on with the Cincinnati Bengals? It's like, yeah, we know that a quarterback can throw more accurately, but at the same time, we see plenty of wide receivers eat and put up great numbers in bad offenses, bad quarterbacks. Like, so it's just I don't know. It's just harder from my viewpoint, honestly. And I'm curious if other people feel that way as well, which is why you typically don't really see a lot of topics like this, where it's like, let's compare. Where do we see the wide receiver rankings? Like, even for running backs, it's a little bit more straightforward, because it's just like, you call, even though this is obviously completely simplistic, because you have O-line, you have the passing game, like how balanced is your offense, but it's just like, it's easier for people to look at a Saquon Barkley and a Derrick Henry and be like, they're better than, I'm not even going to name anyone's names, but another running back. I don't want to throw any running back under the bus or whatever. But it's just you can see it more. You can see it a lot more. What AJ Brown does for his offense compared to what Jamar Chase does, what Justin Jefferson does, like, they're all different in a lot of ways, like pretty different, honestly. And so it's just like, just looking at stats one to one, I don't think it really shows that, and that's why it's actually kind of interesting, because even a PFF actually has AJ Brown number 1, Justin Jefferson number 2, Jamar Chase number 3, and yet, for the most part, all 3 of these receivers are asked to do very different things for their offenses, and their numbers, for the most part, are actually pretty different, even if they seem similar at times. So I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are about what I said about kind of trying to tell this story statistically. If you like that type of stuff, if you want to see more that type of stuff, it takes me a second to try to even figure that out as well. It's not, like I said, it's not always straightforward. It's not just this number's bigger than that number, therefore it's better. Like, it does take like a minute or two to try to figure out, like, what is the data show, and why does it show it, and trying to figure out any of the reasons why this could be misleading, or why it's actually more accurate, or why it's actually accurate but it's actually underrepresented. I never like to just try to make an argument as and make it a truth claim without me like actually feeling it that way. And like I said, I think in this type of situation, trying to argue why someone is better with like highlights and film study, I don't know if that's the way forward either. So I felt like the door was open when they kept emphasizing yak and whatnot. I was like, all right, baby, let's get after it. Let's look at some yak. You guys know I love talking about yak and how it benefits various quarterbacks. So it's like, and looking at behind the line of scrimmage passes and screen passes and all of that. Like, it just, to me, that's where coaching really shows. And you can have a great coach, but you just run a different style offense, right? You could be a great coach, but really the way how your plan of attack is to not encourage a ton of yak or a lot of these, screen passes or behind the line of scrimmage or whatnot. You could be an awesome offensive coordinator and really emphasize the run game. And actually, when you are looking to get a lot more yak, like it's a lot of times it's kind of like with your running back or something. So it's not even just like the difference between a great coach and a bad coach. Like, it's just, what is your philosophy? What is your style? How good is your O-line? Like, what are you looking to accomplish with your offensive game plan? So hopefully that all made sense. And I really would be curious what your guys' thoughts are on that type of conversation, and if it made sense to you, if you think it's accurate, and like I said, if you want to see kind of more stuff like that, at least for the next like month and a half or so, because once the season starts, I typically kind of pull away from the stat game here, honestly, because we have like real concrete stuff to talk about. But I feel like when we have nothing else to talk about, it's like, all right, let's just, what does the data say? What do the stats say? But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about everything that I just said? Are you buying that Jamar Chase is better than Justin Jefferson? Or, what do you think about Brew, talking about Yak and whatnot? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.